Good evening. This is Connie Butts with my husband Bob, and curing the incurable, solving the insolvable. We have a show for you tonight that will soak you with information like it never before. So listen up, all you disbelievers and scoffers out there, because this could very well be the most important piece of life-saving information you will ever hear. With us tonight is Donna Ravello, an Old Forge PA nurse who is suffering beyond the imagination of most of us with something called RSD, which is reflex sympathetic dystrophy. I personally have never heard of RSD until I met Donna, but then again, every time you turn around, we keep hearing of another, bigger, longer name for water and or salt deficiencies, aka drought. Welcome to the program, Donna. I'm going to hand it over to Bob first, and then we will get to our interview.
Thank you, Connie.
Well, Donna's is really a unique story. I believe it was May 17th she called me. She was in bed at the time, and she was sobbing her story. And she asked me if I ever heard of RSD. I said no. I said, describe the symptoms. So she went on and for about 3 minutes described the symptoms. And I said, well, it sounds to me like you've got drought. I said, they're all symptoms of dehydration. I really don't think it's a big deal. Do you remember exactly what I said, Donna?
Yes, you said, I guarantee this will work. You will feel better mentally and physically within a few days. And you were the only person in 17 years that gave me hope, reflex sympathetic dystrophy.
So based on what you've learned and what I've learned about it, RSD should really stand for something different. Would it make sense to call it really stupid diagnosis? Mm-hmm. I mean, especially when it's so simple.
Or
it took from the Civil War up now to really nail it down.
I have one too, really severely dehydrated.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, words like that don't scare anybody, but you hear these big words, and that's what is attached to all disease. You got to have big words that snows people, and you don't realize what the problem is.
Well, I want to mention, Donna, you're a nurse. You're an LPN.
Yes.
And 17 years ago, you had no clue of why you were feeling the way you were, what you had. Take us back a little bit and give the listening audience an idea of why you got so sick. What were you doing in your life? Drinking caffeine, not drinking water, not using good sea salt, eating junk food. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I never had good eating habits. I always was a Weight Watcher, watching my weight.
Never watching what you ate to see if it was good for you.
Yes, and I drank coffee. I drank Barks root beer soda. I'll diet, of course.
So in a way, when you drink coffee, then you have a caffeinated beverage.
Always.
Caffeinated.
Yes, always.
'Cause that's exactly
and poor eating habits. I would go all day without breakfast, and then overeat at supper, and then maybe have a snack. But I actually, for the way I ate, I should have been thin. And I wasn't. I was about 10 pounds overweight. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get the weight off.
Well, we all know live food begets life, dead food begets death. Dr. Lorraine Day, who we have interviewed many times, had mentioned, look what goes on in my life. I have so much stress because of the job I do. I eat out of machines.
Well, that's what she
That's
did
why she
before.
ended up with cancer.
Oh,
And it was
yes.
the WaterCure that saved her life.
Right.
Yes, I read that. God bless her.
Now, let's take us back to the time, let's say you went through literally a living hell.
Yes, I did.
Without hope. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who have severe pain and don't know where to go. We're taking drugs for this and drugs for that, and you may only be a quart low, just the way Donna was, and you've already, in fact, told a number of people about it, and they're getting the same kind of results. But we won't talk about that now. Let's hear your story.
There's something called the McGill Pain Index, and it's a bar index, and it rates a bruise or a toothache would be a level 20. That would also include neuralgia, fractured limb. Chronic back pain is around a 24. Cancer is around a 24. RSD is the worst pain known to man. It levels off at a 42. Even labor only comes in at a 30.
Wow. Well, we all know that we all have someone in our families or whatever, that have had cancer, and I've watched people die of cancer, and the pain is so excruciating that it just gets to the point towards the end that all they do is give morphine, and they're in la-la land. And that is so much less than what you had.
Right. And the thing with RSD is, when I first got diagnosed, I myself didn't even know what it meant. I've never heard of it, and I thought I knew the Merck manual from front and back. And it took 3 years for the diagnosis. I
It
was
didn't change anything, just
It
gave
just
it
gave
a
it a
name.
name. It gave it a name. But when I was first diagnosed, when he started telling me about the treatments, I thought to myself, this is the little shop of horrors. Because the treatments are as painful and invasive as the disease itself.
Yeah.
Not push aside the medications that cost $400 or $500 a bottle. They drained my bank account.
You
And the
literally
side
that,
effects
that literally went bankrupt.
on paying for medicines for 5 years.
That didn't work.
That none of them ever gave me relief, ever. And the thing about it was, they told me not to get no Novocaine, only emergency blood work, life-threatening surgery, and yet the treatments all involved needles.
Yeah, in the
I've
meantime,
had-
they're poking you left and right.
Yes. I've had over 50 nerve blocks. They were called stellate ganglion because in the beginning it was in my left shoulder. I just in December had 9 nerve blocks. They told me it had spread to my right rib cage after surgery. I've had an epidural interspinal catheter. They put, people are familiar with TENS units that you get in physical therapy. It's a little electrical shocks. But for RSD patients, they implant that in the spine. So that coupled with the medication are all horrific, horrific procedures. And then you run into many, many problems. Who has spinal meningitis, from the spinal catheters or the epidural pump. And most of the people don't get relief. Another thing they wanted me to get done was a sympathectomy, to snip my sympathetic nerve, to try to cause relief of pain. I refused. And a few years later, my doctor at the time told me, thank God you refused that because now people are getting amputations of the limbs that got that done. So the disease is horrific, and the treatments are like little shop of horrors. But 17 years I've been on OxyContin, morphine, you've named, I'll bet I've been on 300-400 different types of medicine. And maybe it was God's will. I never took a medication and got relief.
I want to inject something in here. There's a lot of people out there who know the truth about this. A lot of people in the medical field, because they've seen it, have told me about patients, and they're very reluctant to say anything. But if you want to protect your family, and businesses especially who don't want to say anything because they don't want to offend their customers, well, I think we're all being offended when a simple thing like this is being held up because of money. That's just the way it is. I'm in the automotive business, and I know the way automotive people think. It's all the same. This is not time to be blaming people. Tell it like it is. Let's give the problem no reason to exist. We've got to come together like a family.
Right.
That's malignant thinking.